Hey, how are you doing? The consumption tax rate in Japan now is from 8% to 10%, and according to one estimate, in the early future, the consumption tax rate in Japan will increase up to 20% or more. And as one of the primary reasons that the Japanese government has an intention to raise the consumption tax rate, it wants to lower both the corporate tax rate and income tax rate. So it is not that the Japanese government is simply happy with a lot of revenue by raising the consumption tax rate. So simply speaking, no matter what country it is, the primary objective to raise a certain tax rate is to activate domestic economy, right? So in order to activate domestic economy in a country has to increase the amount of consumption. And the government wants to increase the chance that the people can use more money in the society. So it is obvious, right? So under the circumstance of depopulation in Japan, the Japanese government wants to give preferential treatment to wealthy people and successful companies by decreasing the corporate tax rates and income tax rates. So this is one of the measures to defend this country from economic depression. So wealthy people and successful companies can survive in other countries even if they flee their home countries. And they actually want to move to a country that installs the most preferential tax system for them as much as possible. So the Japanese government drastic reform of tax rate change that it raises the consumption tax rates and lower both the corporate tax rate and the income tax rate is just a measure to discourage wealthy people and successful companies from getting out of this country. The Japanese government always wants wealthy people and successful companies to contribute to activation of Japanese economy. The state of mind of both wealthy people and successful companies is like they still feel comfortability to stay in Japan. But if there is a chance, they absolutely won't get out of this country because of the government measures so far that collect more money from people with more assets. So considering the circumstance that subsidiaries of giant tech companies from the United States like Google or Amazon exist in the country around the world, and the authority of the United States is struggling to consider how to collect their corporate tax, it is quite natural that the Japanese government is working on a plan to persuade wealthy people and successful companies to stay in Japan. And the long-term perspective, the Japanese government wants to discourage wealthy people and successful companies from getting out of this country by setting the income tax rate and the corporate tax rate to the low level of these in a certain countries in the world, and improve the social security instead of raising the consumption tax rate.